Hi, everyone. My name is John Faulkner. I'm your host of the Smarter Systems, Better Care podcast. And I'm here today with Dr. McRae. She is a board certified family physician and CEO of Vitality Natural Wellness, and she's specializing in integrative and functional medicine in Ohio. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. McRae. How are you?
I'm doing great, John. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Let's just dive right in. The first question is going to be, could you tell us about your background, your business model, and the clients that you're serving today?
Absolutely. So I am a board certified family practitioner. I had a traditional medical practice for about 12 years and really was caught in the struggle between the demands insurance had for documentation and shorter visits, more patient volume, and the ability to really care for patients well. So about 11 years ago, I closed that practice and I opened up Vitality, which is a cash-based practice that focuses on optimization and wellness. We still do a lot of traditional care. I describe it in the functional medicine scene when people say, well, what exactly is functional medicine? And I describe it as it's exactly the opposite of dysfunctional medicine, which is our current kind of
I
society,
like
system. So we spend a lot of time with patients. If you spend time with patients, they'll typically tell you exactly what's wrong. And it's time that allows that to happen. We dig deep in their history. Again, that takes time. We do very selective testing. So we're not just blasting people with lots of tests. We get to the root cause. And then our goal is to prevent disease before it happens versus the traditional setting, which is wait until you have a diagnosis and then treat the problem.
Yeah, that's a wonderful approach, more holistic approach. And then I've heard also functional medicine described as like longevity medicine. Are they one and the same, or are they different? I'm kind of interested to hear your thought.
It's kind of different. So longevity medicine is truly people, and you can take that to different extremes too. People trying to live as long as they can. Another kind of version of longevity medicine is live with the highest quality of life you can as long as you can. When you think of just functional medicine in general, it's root cause medicine. So it's a little bit different than longevity medicine. It's really determining root cause for issues that they have right now and then preventing disease. Now, ideally, that will increase longevity, but it's kind of a different niche. Longevity medicine definitely has its own little band of followers.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that as well. And like, what's the core focus of your business today? And like, what role are you playing in driving that growth right now?
So Vitality was created to be a duplicatable system. So currently we have 2 locations. Prior to COVID, actually, the goal was to have 100 locations in 100 cities with 350,000 people or more. However, COVID came. We were very good at telemedicine. Even at that point, we were doing some innovative things, and we realized we don't need that many brick and mortars. So we created this continued growth in a duplicatable way. We still do a lot of telehealth, and the biggest kind of obstacle is always making sure that you have providers that are thoroughly trained in a functional medicine approach, because it is different. We go back to a lot of cellular physiology, and we go back to a lot of pharmacology and just physics and the chemistry of the body and cellular function. That oftentimes gets lost as the traditional practitioner is out and about in their practice. Having exceptional providers is typically the biggest obstacle we have. And everything else, we have systems in place to grow and duplicate.
Excellent. And then as far as like, if you ever talking to a new patient that came into your practice, like what's your competitive edge you can tell them within 30 seconds, for those listening in?
Our competitive edge, honestly, is our experience. So we've been working in functional medicine for over 20 years. This is not a fly-by-night process we have at the office. Our depth of knowledge is so deep. So we didn't take a weekend course in hormones and say we're hormone experts.
Yeah.
We didn't, just read some blogs online and watch some YouTube videos and say we excel in adrenal health or stress management. There's over 1,000 different articles on gut health and intestinal permeability issues, inflammatory components, and even mood disorders related to the gut. We are very experienced in what we do. So we're not a fly-by-night. If somebody wants to really get to the heart of the issue, that's where we fit in.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that explanation. And then as far as like looking bigger picture more at the industry that you're working in within functional medicine, like what's one shift in your industry that you think most founders or owners or operators are underestimating?
I think it's the tidal wave of AI that everybody is feeling
Yeah.
right now. It
Yeah.
really is. When you have the ability to access, honestly, really great information, if you know how to find it, it does take away a lot of the impetus for people to feel like they have nowhere to start. Now, in medicine, it's a little different because there's so many different levels. There's a lot of bad information still out there. But I'm a full believer that if you don't embrace AI, how to make your administrative systems better, how to make your care systems better, how to integrate advanced knowledge better,
Yeah.
then you will be left behind.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think everyone has this fear like AI is going to take over the world, kind of like in the movie Terminator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that's not where we're at right now. It's more of a tool that people need to engage with to understand how it works and like the ethical implications of it as well. And then kind of digging a bit deeper in the industry with AI, how is functional medicine adapting to AI? Like, what are your peers doing, or what are things you've heard about so far?
I think a lot of people are aware of like Function Health, which is a lab panel that Mark Hyman and his team put together. We're seeing a lot of components such as that. So trying to put out really inexpensive lab panels and then having AI send back interpretations of those lab work
Yeah,
and then trying to get people to follow up based on those interpretations. That's probably one of the first ways that we're seeing incorporation into that. The second way that really is being taken up pretty quickly is the ability to summarize office visits. So dictation
yeah,
and
that's a big
transcription
one.
type services. And that's definitely been a game changer in the world of note taking.
Yeah, for sure. And have you guys got into the whole ambient space? Because I know a lot, that's like the big rage right now is a lot of practices are evaluating using that. I know like Nuance is like a big player in the space. I mean, there's some other ones too as well.
Yeah, it's really fun. You can get down a rabbit hole very, very quickly on the different opportunities to engage in AI in that space for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what is it that you guys are doing like in your own business to adapt to like AI right now? Is there anything specific? Because I heard you talk about kind of generative AI, you know, evaluating maybe like general visit summaries and things. Is there anything else that you guys are focused on at the moment?
That's a great question. We fully know that continuing to hire and train people to do these deep, extensive processes can be challenging. And even
Yeah.
if we're talking about on the administrative end, the other thing is there's never been one great software we've used. So we have multiple different software integrations that we're working with. So to get a new person to come in, understand how to log in with, the 5 or 6 programs and where things have to go, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
We're really in a place right now where we're seeking to incorporate AI into those processes to really streamline it, minimize the amount of software just in capabilities they have with working with each other. So that's really one area we're pouring a lot of focus and attention into is the administrative piece of it. The model that I have is actually very high touch. I love the ability to allow us to have more time. So the note taking, for instance, is a huge component. We're lucky that the software we use has incorporated a lot of AI into their background.
That's
So
excellent.
just by using their software, they've taken care of a lot of those pieces from the clinical aspect. But it's the administrative side that we're really digging in deeply on right now.
Focusing on right now. Yeah, that makes sense. And then like what are the kind of getting deeper into that? You already mentioned like administrative burden. That's like a big one, not even in your own practice. I've heard in other practices as well. Are there any other pain points that maybe they're specific to functional medicine that people may not know about?
Pain points would really just be the research and literature, but I
Yeah.
can't say it's necessarily specific to functional medicine. We do a lot of women's health, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that your wife finds the same thing where there's not a lot of study research on women alone, even in women prominent disease patterns. So there's a paucity of data in some of the areas we look for. So when you look at an AI program like Open Evidence, which is fantastic, you're still dealing with a paucity of data that's specifically related to women's health. So I would say that's something that affects functional medicine, probably more so than traditional, although it does branch over into that area, because we're working on things like gut health and stress management and parasympathetic support and, when somebody has sympathetic overdrive or how the gut microbiome affects estrogen metabolism. It's hard to find AI sources for that because there's not a lot of sources, period.
Correct. Yeah, it's such a new thing. Even in the past couple of years, like there's like just a flood of technology out there, and people are trying to figure out how to use it and navigate it. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And as far as like your patient workflow, is there, I know this is always like an issue too, like the whole intake process to the end to when things are coded. Is there anything in there that's like a barrier or like a bottleneck right now that you guys are looking at? Just getting kind of back to the administrative burden.
Yeah, not really, because we are not an insurance-based practice.
Yeah,
So patients
cash
are very
based.
good about doing any kind of, yeah, they're really great about. I feel we train them well. Any
Yeah,
paperwork that has to be done is a digital format, and they can do that before they come in. The office visits are very streamlined, and then from a checkout perspective, if they're telemed, we have electronic ways of doing their billing. So thankfully, we've already diminished a lot of that need.
that's excellent. You already took care of that, which is wonderful, and thankfully not a burden, not part of that administrative burden. It sounds.
Mhm.
And then how are you guys currently managing things like follow up, no shows, or like manual outreach? Because I know some people, I've seen different methods. I've seen SMS text messaging. I've seen, AI callers that do that. What's kind of like your strategy for follow up and on a consistent basis?
That's probably an area where we could definitely incorporate more of like an AI executive assistant. Currently, our patients love texting.
Yeah, especially in this day.
So
Yeah.
we do a lot of texting. Are you okay? We missed you this morning. We get really good follow-up from that in our software, our EMR. There's actually a no-show or cancellation button, and you can click the button and it automatically puts them on a wait list where it can be automatically fed out appointment offerings. So again, the software is pretty good at
Yeah.
helping us manage that. But from a high touch perspective, we do reach out via text typically. Some of the patients who prefer phone calls will of course do that, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a preference, what people prefer, how to digest information, really. And then like just kind of looking at like results that you guys are getting like in your own practice, it sounds like you're doing really well. What's been working really well? And then the alternative of like what's been harder than expected that you've run into lately when you're kind of trying to navigate things.
so you're asking lately and kind of navigating the business end or business and clinical?
Yes. Within your practices, your two practices.
Practice in general. Honestly, it's the integration of multiple softwares.
Yeah.
If you
Managing
QuickBooks
that.
for finances and inventory management, and then invoicing that's different because you can't get through those through our EMR, but you also can't keep the inventory in the EMR. You have to cross-reference it with the QuickBooks. That's a lot. Then we have, of course, have our CRMs, we have our patient funnels, we have the marketing software, we have the Quizlets and online social management, all of those different components, our membership software. It's juggling the software.
Yeah, some of the hospitals that I've worked with say they might have 600 vendors. That's a big example, but I can see like you have six or more. That's a lot for like a smaller practice to try and manage and integrate things for sure. And
Mhm.
then I'm always like interested in data too. How do you measure success with like KPIs and metrics within functional medicine? Like what are you looking at specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we use an EOS called Bloom Growth. It used to be Traction Tools, if you're familiar with that. And it's
Yeah.
a great way to stay on track. So we have our KPIs stuck on there. There'll be many different measurements we do, from the number of office visits scheduled to the number of office visits completed. We have those meetings on a weekly basis from our visionary integrator perspective. We have weekly marketing meetings. Every 2 weeks, we do an all staff meeting. So it's a great way to stay on top of things. We track, of course, revenue per office. We track
Yeah.
memberships. We track provider revenue. So it's a very nice way to continually get a great glimpse of what's happening in the practice.
Okay, so you got a really good high level review of what's going on, so you can
Mhm.
make decisions. And then another thing I had with another podcast guest is we had a discussion about a subscription model. Is that something
Mhm.
that you considered in your own practice, or do you use that now?
Yeah, we do. We have several
Yeah,
programs that are based on a membership model.
so they're set up like that. Okay, excellent. And then what are like? Is there anything that you like are trying to move the needle on that you guys are just stuck on that you just can't seem to figure out, or that there's just keeps coming up in discussions? Curious about those
Oh.
things too.
It's always efficiency,
Efficiency.
always. And to me, I'm always planning, right? So I'm always planning what's next. What do things look like? What kind of events do I foresee happening? And then how can
Yeah.
I come up with a solution before that happens? So to me, it is the ability, when you see how much time it takes to train somebody. So creating systems that are more efficient. I think we've done a really great job, but holy smokes, it's a lot to learn.
Yeah, especially when you're onboarding a new employee, trying to get them through that process so they feel supported and get any questions answered as well. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And then if once you guys have like, you reach the promised land, you've solved all your problems, what does success look like in 6 to 12 months from today?
Well, overall success is I want to work from the beaches of the world. So we're going to go there.
Yeah, go there. That's fine.
Really having the ability to, and I do completely believe that the administrative holdup of the multiple systems we have in place is our biggest obstacle to
Yeah.
expanding to all the areas that want us to expand. We have a really great training system set up for our providers. It is the management that it takes to do that training and to troubleshoot when things go wrong. We still have
Yeah.
a couple of silos of information that are fantastic, but being able to not have so much expertise in certain areas, in smaller areas, and make that a broader release. So 6 to 12 month success would be having certain key executive positions in my practice, not be as hands-on as they are right now. Like
Mhm.
I just think that they're doing too much. Like I
Yeah.
would love to see that. And then once that happens, that allows the opportunity of, okay, let's launch what's next.
Yeah. Getting that optimization phase would be like the goal, it sounds like. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So more locations. We have goals of expanding into Florida soon, and I think that that will happen quickly, but I want to make sure that we have things cleaned up before we do that. We are also expanding into this, I kind of call it medical purgatory. And that's where we know everybody is really searching for things online and you can
Yeah.
find programs online. So really expanding into that space, like reaching into that space for people. So we're actually developing several different online programs that
Mm.
will work people through a workbook and have education for 1 month. We have a whole program lined up. And hopefully, it'll really empower people to learn more from a verified source, to really get great information, to know where that next stepping point is. So, we're hoping to build more relationships with people in that land so that when they're ready, they do know who to reach out to.
So like like patient education is what you're kind of talking about, right? It's just
Mhm.
keeping the patient engaged throughout
Mhm.
the whole care process. So then, and I can see why that would be really successful because then like you're constantly keeping them interested. Hey, what
Mhm.
can I do to make my, my health better? Those are the kind of questions they can work on. So
Mhm.
excellent. And then as far as like we're getting to the end here, how can people find you online? Like how should they connect with you? Is there like a website or LinkedIn that's best to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. From a professional level, I have my LinkedIn, and that's either under Vitality Natural Wellness or through my name, Melissa McRae, DO. We have vitalitynaturalwellness.com, which is our website. A lot of information on there. It's also linked to different webinars that I've given and some different other education, but also the services that we do. There's also direct links. So if somebody is interested in becoming a patient, we have them do a patient inquiry call first. We know that their time is valuable and we want to
Yeah,
make sure that we're a good fit for them and vice versa. So they can even click on to, hey, I'd love to talk to somebody and see if this is a good fit for me.
excellent.
I also do a lot of public speaking on education of preventative medicine, functional medicine, and women's health. So I have a speakers page at drmelissamccrae.com if anybody's interested in that.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and thank you for your time today. I really appreciate, diving into functional medicine, like what it means and like, the barriers you're running into and like the exciting pieces of how you're going to grow. So thank you for joining the podcast today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.